how does a realtor find their own niche or their brand within themselves?
Do you feel pressure though to how do you top the last one and the last one and the last one? Like,
I guarantee if you are bored with your content, everyone else is.
Unlocking Saratoga's real estate secrets. Welcome to Selling Saratoga, a podcast about the real Saratoga real estate scene in one of the Northeast's hottest and fastest growing markets.
our guests are going to gain insight on the best way to make real estate decisions, whether buying and selling and everything in between. I'm Helen Mastrian, Associate Broker at Hunt Real Estate in Saratoga Springs.
And I'm Noelle McLaren, an Emmy Award-winning journalist and real estate enthusiast. Together, we have the keys to your future in Saratoga real estate. Welcome, everybody, to Selling Saratoga podcast. This is going to be the final episode of season 1 for our show. So we hope you've enjoyed and that you've tuned in. If you haven't listened to the rest of the episodes, be sure to check them out. We have Helen, of course, as always.
Hello.
And Heidi in the studio today. We always love having Heidi. And today we are going to talk all about social media in real estate and how it can really impact it. And we have a special guest. We're going to be joined by Kaitlin Hanig. She is a realtor in Salt Lake City, and she has amassed a giant following on social media because of her unique approach to social media. At Realtor Kaitlin, she kind of has this dry,
Sarcastic, cynical, funny as hell.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
Dialogue about that nobody normally uses because it's so different. It's so cool. It's so bad. It's good.
I know.
I love it.
Helen, Heidi, would either of you ever do anything like this, or would you ever think to?
So I wish I could. She's so fast, fun, and witty. It would take me a year to plan out one of her reels. She's got a very cool, like I said, witty, what do you call it? Deadpan.
Deadpan is a good word.
Freaking hilarious way of getting the community's attention.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wait, what did she just say?
I'm sorry, what?
Let me listen to that again.
And I think she should take her show on the road and be in comedy. It's so funny and so deadpan and so well done. But that's brilliant. Yeah. You have to, that takes time.
Yeah.
But that's got to be your personality.
Right.
You know what I mean? You
Right.
walk in and you're just like immediately thinking, this one line. And it's like, what did you just say?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
So that's her personality and that works for her. So, with social media, she's using that to her advantage to get the attention she needs to grow her business.
Right.
Yeah. I think she's badass. I love her.
Yeah. So she's amassed 60.2K followers on Instagram. She describes herself as real estate for the disillusioned, unhinged, but in a professional way, and brokered by Real. So I'm curious to hear what she has to say about social media in real estate, how she can help buyers and sellers and realtors kind of make their mark in the social media world, which is so important these days.
And what their reaction is. I mean, I love a lot of my fellow agents. Everybody has to be themselves. You can't be something that you're not. And so I really enjoy content from everybody. And some of it I relate to and some of it I don't.
Yeah.
But it is who you are.
So I'm constantly at my office, and we have agents in front of me, and some of them are just starting out and some have been agents for a long time, and they haven't quite figured out that real estate branding aspect and how to reach the community in their own way without overthinking it.
Right.
And so when we sit down and we're trying to think about, well, what makes you different than somebody else, or what is your specialty in your day-to-day life? I have an agent who, she has an amazing garden and she gifts people pumpkins. She'll gift them vegetables throughout the seasons. And I'm like, well, maybe that could be your branding for
your niche,
you.
right?
Your niche exactly for social media. Why not go about making yourself stand out in that way?
Right. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Do what is true to you, kind of thing.
Precisely.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to copy somebody. You
Exactly.
could use that as an idea to
Exactly.
help create or carve out what it is that you want to use to help grow your audience.
And it could be anything.
Welcome, Kaitlin. We're so excited and happy to have you on this show. And I think everybody is dying to know, where did the deadpan come from? Where did this idea come from? Because it's so different than anything I've seen. Helen.
Right.
Heidi, I mean, like, we haven't seen anything like it.
So original.
And it
so
catches
great.
your eye.
I invented deadpan. The British stole it from me. People have asked me that question a lot, like, where did this come from? And I don't have a satisfying answer because I'm like, oh, actually, just my brain, because that's just how it works. And so what I was really doing was kind of just filming what my regular brain wants me to do, instead of like kind of doing what I thought needed to happen in the industry, you know, kind of doing the norms. But I will tell you, like, one way that I decided, or it gave me the courage to like go down this route, was that I one day was just like, everything is boring. I hate every piece of content I've ever made. And so I sat there and I scrolled and I was like, what is even interesting? And this is hard for real estate agents because you train your algorithm to just look at other real estate agents. So you get in this kind of little echo chamber of like what content is. If you can just like get out of that a little bit and go through and like have a very honest, truthful scroll session with yourself and save every bit of content that makes you stop. And then go back and look at it later. And then maybe you can see like, what is the common thread between those things that actually made you stop and entertains you? Because I guarantee if you are bored with your content, everyone else is. That is an exercise I did.
Okay. So line after line after line, though, is so freaking brilliant. Like, how long does it take you to get what? I mean, you could divide up these guys into little ones, but you just like kill it with so many good lines. I am in awe.
It's funny you say that because I actually feel like, I think the default idea is like, when you go into a home tour, you have to show the whole home. And so that was hard for me at first. When I had this idea, I was like, the first house I went in, I filmed, and then I was like, I didn't even go in the basement. Like, I'm not even sure what's in the basement because it wasn't my listing. And I realized like, no, actually, I'm going to keep it short. So I do like 4 one-liners and then I do a kind of a longer one. That's funny that you say that because I'm like, oh, I'm actually keeping it so short already.
Oh, wow.
How do I come up with them? I just think of them randomly. Like anytime I'm doing stuff, I have a love-hate relationship with my brain because I feel like I'm always kind of thinking of ideas. Yeah.
Right.
So anytime I'm doing something, if a random like funny concept occurs to me, or if I hear something that sparks an idea, I just jot it down in I have a little notes app that's basically like fragments of a joke. Yeah. You know, it's just a list of things. So then when I go into a particular house, I just pull up my list and I see if the house and my list, like if they match anywhere, or I just look at the features of the house. Like I'm going to go film later today and there's a fire pit. And I was like, oh, I thought of a new joke that's not in my list, but I've got a pit joke for you guys.
Right.
I can't wait to hear
we'll
it.
tune in.
So
That's
like
awesome.
you said, something that like makes you stand out is just you're different. And it's not always like the most obvious thing. Like you're like gut reaction or your initial reaction might be, oh, let's see what's worked for everybody else and I want to do that too. No, like don't copy Kaitlin. Find your own niche, find your own brand. How does a realtor find their own niche or their brand within themselves? How does that soul searching process kind of happen and work for you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they need to go to therapy. Start there, break yourself down.
Break it down.
Yes.
Everyone should be in therapy.
Some of my videos, people are like, oh, was this therapy? Maybe. I'll bill you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your comments. After I watch your videos, I'm like, look at these comments.
You scroll through the comments.
Oh, absolutely. That's part of the fun, right, Kaitlin? I mean, and you're
Straight
really
to
good at
comments. I have
answering
fun
them in really freaking funny ways. It just adds to the unbelievable engagement that keeps people on the page. If I'm coming to Salt Lake City, I'm going to call you. But I don't think that's anytime soon. But if I did, I would call you.
I'm pretty persuasive. You might be buying a house here soon.
Well, this is true. This is true.
Okay, so your
happen.
niche. How do you find it?
I do think that scrolling exercise is important to, I think that helps you understand like what you actually connect with. So I think that's one way. It feels embarrassing, but like if you think about or talk to your friends and family and say, like, what is it that you really enjoy about me? And so it's hard for people because then they feel put on the spot and like I love my fiance so much, but if he's just like, what do you love about me? I'm like, you're nice. Like, it's hard to kind of
you're pretty.
I really like your biceps. It's true. Here's the thing about niches, as I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm actually not talking about myself when I do these videos. I'm talking about the clients, and I think real estate agents so much want to differentiate themselves that they try to make themselves different. And like, I am doing things that are different, but I'm not sitting there telling everybody how different I am. Except for like right now when I'm doing podcasts, but
in your content, in your branding, you're not, so to speak.
Yeah. So I'm sure you guys have seen people will be like, oh, say you went to clown school, you have a background in clowning, and you're like, I'm the clown realtor. Maybe you don't actually have to say that thing. Maybe you can just do it.
That's good advice.
Does that make any sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Because I feel like it's actually a little insulting. Like, people aren't going to pay as much attention to you it's almost like movies and books are better if you're showing instead of telling, because the audience gets disinterested if they feel talked down to, or it's pretty obvious that you're a clown. Like, if you're wearing clown makeup and you're doing clown stuff, we get that. You don't have to say, hey, I'm the clown realtor. Like,
don't treat the audience like they're stupid or they're dumb, because then they feel dumb. Don't talk to me like I'm a little, like I'm an idiot.
Do you feel pressure though to how do you top the last one and the last one and the last one? Like, oh my God, they're so good. I mean, do you feel the pressure or you don't? Which, if you don't, that's great.
No, actually, when I released like the first couple that started gaining traction, but which, by the way, like, this has only been like a month and a little bit that I had like 1,500 followers like a month ago, and now today I have 60,000. I feel very much like something clicked for me, and if I'm sure you guys have maybe gone through my older stuff, but like that, you can see there's like a moment kind of where I click and I figure out that this is what works for me. The first couple that I did, I was like, what if I run out of ideas? Like, what? But then I started feeling much better after that, because my little notes app where I keep my ideas, like, my list was getting longer instead of shorter.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I do feel like I could do this for the rest of my life, at least.
Wow.
So you're freaking awesome. Okay. I actually used some of your reels as examples in a media class that I did last week. And I'm like, this chick is just baller. Like, she is so fun, and trying to express that you don't have to be like everybody else. Not that you are going to copy Kaitlin, obviously, but she found something that is so funny and works for her. You can tell a lot of this is literally, I don't want to say your personality, but it is your personality, because if you're writing down these ideas like that, I feel like such a dumbass. Like, I can't think of things that you think of very simply, right? So I feel like I could never be anything like that, other than I walk into a house and I'm like, I think it's granite, like more of the dumbass. It just comes so naturally for you. And the fact that your list is longer versus shorter, that's amazing. And I was actually going to ask you, so you have no help from like AI or anything? You just literally think of these one-liners on your own?
Yeah, no AI. I will tell you, sometimes I look through Reddit. I think Reddit is my favorite social media platform for being able to tap into what people are actually feeling and thinking. So even if you're not like trying to be funny, instead of thinking about, oh, what are other real estate agents saying and what are other real estate agents doing to get clients, like, you can figure out like, oh, what are clients wondering? Like, what are clients trying to figure out? And then you can speak to that better.
Like, are there comedians that you look at? Are you a stand-up comedy lover? Like, I love to watch so much comedy.
I really like stand-up comedy. Honestly, one of my favorite comedians for like, because he just surprises you so much, is Anthony Jeselnik.
Oh my God, he's so good. Yes.
He does like a deadpan. He does like a straight, which I don't think
Yes.
I could do in real life. I can do that when I can edit out parts where I mess up. But
Right.
I think the way he crafts his joke are so good because he really he makes people assume things and then he slaps you with something out of left field.
Like when you're in the middle of one of your homes and you are saying these really dry, cynical things, and then you say, and there's a pot filler. Like unbelievable ending, 1-2 punch to that, and there's a snack bar after all of this other stuff. And it's just it's so well done. So well done.
I don't know where this deadpan, personality trait in you comes from. I researched a little bit about your past, your story, what makes you who you are, right? And I see that
Stalker.
you're a mom, you've been through a divorce, and a lot of that has had to have influenced all of this. I mean, can you talk to me a bit about how much it has and how that's made you into the person you are today?
I grew up Mormon. I'm not Mormon anymore. Being involved in a religion like that, like you're all in, okay? Well, for most people. For me personally, I was very much all in. And sometimes I like to joke that I was like so in it that I fell out the other side. But having that be my background, that means I got married when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Because a guy 4 years older than me told me that, God said that we should get married. And so I'm like, I just, I want to be a good person. I want to do what God wants. And I was naive and my brain wasn't fully formed, guys. So, I got married at 19 and I had 4 kids. And so in a 13-year marriage, and at some point during that marriage, I struggled with depression and anxiety because like all the cool people do, right? I feel like
Obviously.
yeah. But like I got like so low in my depression that once it had lifted enough, I was like, I'm never going there again. And so I started working really hard on like self-development. And I feel like I read a book that really changed things for me. And I don't think that everyone that reads this book will have this, or people that have this moment where something changed. It's not always going to be the same book, right? But it just hit me in the right time and in the right moment. And it was You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. So I started like really opening myself up to like, what if I actually am a good person? And that kind of unraveled a lot of things for me because I would go to church and I would be like, I actually think that church is trying to teach me to not like myself, and I really want to like myself. And so I left the church, I left the religion, and then that, because I had made every single life choice based on that religion and that belief, I was like re-examining my entire life. So that was a
You have to start from scratch.
a few years. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of work. And so, I ended up going through a divorce, and that took a long time. Like he did not make it easy to divorce him. And that whole year I was joking about like, oh, I'm burning down my life. And, I've burned down the whole thing, scorched earth. And then that year, the apartment that I was living in burned down. And I was like, I think I'm a manifester. Like, did I?
Wow.
So
you really have to start over, baby.
It made me be very honest with myself, but it also showed me that like, I actually have nothing to lose, and people are going to be wrong about me, and I'm totally okay with that because like going through the divorce, my children's father was saying a lot of things about me to kind of our like social group, and they weren't true. And at one point I had like one of the other wives in our social group, I had an interaction with her where she was like very curt with me. And I realized like, oh my gosh, I think she believes what he's saying about me. And that was like a moment where I was like, okay, she knows me though. Like we've been on a cruise together. Like she knows who I am. But she's willing to believe him. And so I'm okay letting her be wrong about me and not fighting for her. Like I'm not going to sit there and try and and convince her that he's wrong, because she should know me well enough that what he's saying shouldn't track. It shouldn't make sense.
There's a quote about that that's like, other people's opinions of me are none of my business. I think it was Reese Witherspoon who said that. And once you can accept that, you truly are free.
It was like a hard thing to experience, but it was like so freeing to be like, the people who take the time and effort to actually understand who you are, they are going to understand you. So then why would you fight for people who aren't willing to try and understand who you are, or would not give you the benefit of the doubt? So like, even if they'd heard something.
Well, and Heidi, you actually have like, I feel like there's a connection here too, because you were talking about developing your own business. Like, it was your divorce and you're starting from scratch too.
Yeah.
That kind of got you, to where you are today too. So
yeah,
it's empowering.
Just listening to your story, I'm kind of like sitting here speechless, because hearing that from you directly, I'm like impacted. I'm emotional. I got goosebumps. I got to go pee. Like, all things are happening and you don't even know it. So I'm like starstruck by you, and the fact that you've taken all the steps and the leaps and the strength that you have. Like, it's just, it's very empowering. And I'm kind of like on the verge of tears, because I respect the shit out of you and everything that you've done. And you're saying this has only been like a month and a half since this took off for you. And I'm just so freaking thrilled for you, because it's only the beginning. Yeah. And then in a year from now, it's still only the beginning. Yeah. And so just keep doing everything you're doing. You're a strong,
badass.
Strong, beautiful person. And I don't know how old your kids are and stuff, but like, they are so lucky to have you as a mom. Yeah. And I love you all the way here from Saratoga, New York.
Oh, well, I'm in Saratoga Springs, Utah. So.
Oh, are you really? What? Oh. Stop it. Seriously? There's a Saratoga Springs, Utah?
Yeah. I made a video about it one time, and people were like, this is not the Saratoga I remember. I'm like, that's because you're thinking of the other one.
My favorite one, and I'm wondering if sometimes people have a negative reaction when you were talking about what you like about this part of Salt Lake City, what the pros and cons, right? And one of the cons, one of them was, one time a raccoon died in the water supply and no one could taste the difference. And I was like, oh my God. Do people in town come up and say, there wasn't a raccoon? How could you say that?
So that one got a lot of, I haven't checked it, but like last time I checked it, it had over 500,000 views on that particular one. So that one's the one about Magna. Right. And so the thing is that actually happened. A raccoon died in the water supply. And, but one of the things that Magna is known for, because I grew up in Magna, and so I feel like an authority on this. But one of the things Magna is known for is having, like, the water tastes terrible, because they used to be on like a well system, and so the water it's just like been a thing they're notorious for, having awful water plus a dead raccoon. Like, the joke works because like the water's so bad that no one could even tell that there was a dead raccoon in it. So no, I didn't get pushback on that, because it's actually true.
That is so crazy. So I have a real estate question. In one of my favorite episodes on your Instagram, you play Tiny Tim Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Hilarious. And you are featuring a burnt out shell for $230,000. And it is a burnt out building. Like, it's the debris are all over the place. So I guess you're having the same lack of inventory. Oh my God, the markets are really tough because there's nothing for sale if you're featuring burnt out inventory. Tell us about your market in Salt Lake City as a realtor.
Salt Lake's a bit of a mixed bag. We have seen inventory go up, and like things are sitting on the market a little longer. Affordability has like really shot up, and that's true of everywhere. But it's especially true in Salt Lake. So we're higher, like our affordability, like everybody else's went like this and ours went like that. Yes, our home prices have like shot up, and our our median income has not followed. It hasn't been parallel. So it is a tough market here. But that being said, like, obviously I feel bad for my clients who are needing to buy or sell in this market. Except for if you're selling in this market, then and you're also buying in this market, then it kind of washes out. But I feel bad for the first time home buyers. That's the hardest barrier to cross in even in the olden times when housing markets were not as hard. Personally, this is going to sound so arrogant. Personally, I am not the kind of real estate agent that's like panicked about the state of the market, because there's like literally no time in the history of the world when people stop buying or selling real estate, right? Like that is just going to exist. Whether or not that's like a huge pool of people or a smaller pool of people, I don't feel like is a huge deal for me or like any real estate agent that is really committed to it. Because if you're doing everything you can right now to like be that person, then for people, then you don't have to have the market be like this crazy, like everybody's buying.
Well, is social media and your success on social media part of that confidence boost that you get? Like, how much has social media helped your business? I mean, Helen asks that all the time, you know, what's the return on investment when it comes to social media, which there's not much of an investment except creating the time, you know, that you put into it.
Yeah. I mean, so there's some sweat that you're putting into it. So because this like spike in my exposure is really recent, I'm not gonna lie to you and be like, oh, I've closed $1 jillion from my social media. But I will tell you, so I'm really new in real estate, by the way. I'm like 13 or 14 months in.
I was going to ask you how long you've been a realtor, because it doesn't matter when you have a social media. Now, I realize it's recent, but because you have that kind of social media presence right now, even more so, it's only going to help build you even more.
Has it?
And so in a year from now, 5 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, wow. Because if I just saw you and I just moved to Utah, but I saw your presence, I'm like, this bitch knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to call her.
Right.
Because she's baller and can handle my real estate transaction.
Yeah. Well, and I do legitimately feel like I have tried very hard to like, I do think I am knowledgeable. I haven't, the thing I lack is like, I haven't had to experience every single thing that can go wrong. I do feel like in general, I know what I'm doing. And, you know, like if you're connecting with a real estate agent as a client, then like obviously your real estate agent is a connector. And how much better off are you if your real estate agent can connect with the other real estate agent? Like that sets you up for like a good negotiation and deals working out. I have way more. Like, do you guys keep like a whiteboard? Because I keep a whiteboard of people that I'm like in conversation with that I need to make sure to follow up on so that I don't lose people through the cracks. So my whiteboard is much more full right now. I've got some like listing appointments on the calendar. One thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot more opportunity that that didn't occur to me, but now that it's here, I'm seeing it. So like my audience is so much wider than Utah. And I have like people not in my area do trust me. And
people are moving there. They're going to call Kaitlin.
Well, not just that, but like obviously not a lot of real estate agents have been able to kind of like capture the kind of energy that I have on social media, but that doesn't mean that we're all like lame. Okay, just because even if their social media is kind of lame, like that doesn't mean they are lame. And so I have a much better ability to like figure out who would be fun to work with. I can tell you who passes the vibe check, you know, like in Washington State. And so I like the referral business for me is definitely something I'm super excited about. I've sent out a couple of referrals already, and like I'm stoked about that because not only like I like to benefit from that, and it's easy to be like, oh, you didn't do any work for that money, but like I did because I built a platform. I created this space where people trust me and my opinion, and I truly feel like I've earned that because I am not going to bullshit people. I'm not going to say it's always men, but I've had a lot of men slide into my DMs and be like, hey, send me your referrals for this area. And I'm like, why?
'Cause you're gorgeous.
but why, like, Jeremy, what have we connected? Like, why do I owe you a referral if I come across someone that's trying to move to your area? But on the flip side, like feel like I've made so many real estate friends that will reach out to me and be like, oh my gosh, like this thing I totally connect with or whatever. And then I'm just going to give you guys a little hint. Like, if someone prioritizes connection with me, then I'm so much more likely to send business their way if it comes to me. Because again, it goes back to like being a connector. Like Jeremy sliding into my DMs with this like this cold ask for something from me. I'm like, why would I trust you with my clients? Like, I'm not going to send people to you.
Poor Jeremy.
Well, Kaitlin, on top of it, you know, with your brokerage that you're with and your social media presence now, and it's only the beginning, you're only going to continue to grow that, and people will want your business and vice versa, because we're a world, we live on a planet. Like you could refer anywhere all over the world. And with the brokerage that you're with and partnered with, or whatever you want to call it, there's just the possibilities are endless with what you can do to grow yourself and even potentially educate other people, not even necessarily about real estate, but educate them about what you can be doing differently, helping them get an idea of, I don't know, I don't even want to call it branding because you figured out your own branding, but there's other things that you can do to help other agents and partnering with them. It's just going to explode.
All right, time now for our real estate horror story. Kaitlin, we're hoping you have one from out there in Salt Lake City.
I do. This one actually happened up in Heber, so like up by our Park City. So it's a little bit of a bougier area, but the particular neighborhood that me and my client, I was representing the buyer, we were going through a house, and this house, going into it, we knew it was really on the low end of the budget, especially for that area. So it needed work, and it was currently occupied. The family was out of the house, and so me and my client were walking through this house, which by the way was like 650K, and it's still like in that area. That's like, you got to do work on it to make it nice. So we're walking through the house, and like we've all been in houses that aren't like show ready, right? Like they're not. People are still people and living in it. And there's only so much you can do as a listing agent to like get your clients to like clean up. So this wasn't a super clean house. It had a gorgeous view off the back deck because, you know, we're up in the mountains. And so we're walking around the back deck, and we look down and realize that my client has stepped in dog shit on the deck. There was like, it was on the deck.
Oh,
come on, doggy.
Yeah.
Go in
And
the
so
lawn.
Steamy pile.
Yeah.
That's
and so like we had walked back into the house, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's on the floor now. And so
oh no.
So I'm like pulling paper towels, and like I'm not sure if I should be more concerned that we've tracked poop into the house or that my client has poop on their shoe.
Right. Oh God.
What's the priority?
But either way, either way, I handled it. It would have been worse if I had pooped on the deck and then she stepped in it, but like it was okay. It was dog poop.
That would be worse.
Not mine.
All right. And
we think it was dog. That's beautiful.
Kaitlin, is there anything else that you think we left out that you want to make sure this is your moment that you get out there to your audience, your new audience, and in the beginning of this awesome journey that you're on?
Can I plug myself?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Please.
Okay. So I'm at Real, right? And so Real has like, you have a sponsor, and you can sign up at Real underneath someone. So like I'm signed up at Real underneath my friend Tina, which I am so happy about because that means I get an excuse to like hang out with her all the time. But anyone, you are not restricted to being in Utah. Like if you are interested in coming over to Real, there's so many reasons why you should, but one of them is that if I'm your sponsor, then I would love to help you figure out your social media, and at no cost to you, because the way it's works, like, because you would be underneath me. So anytime you succeed, I get like a little slice of that. So I'm happy to like invest my time and energy into someone, because I want you to succeed. And then also I got a little slice of that too. So it's a win-win. Okay.
Right.
It's a win-win.
That's awesome.
And that's one
great.
of those things that I was talking about is, without getting into it, I wanted to share that you have a platform that you can really help grow worldwide.
Yeah.
So that's really cool for you.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Well, keep on
I'm not
keeping
coming
on.
over though.
Your stuff
no,
is
I'm just
great.
kidding.
Yeah, you're super inspiring.
I still love you, and I would love to refer to you in Utah, but
No, I get it, but like here's the thing, like the brokerage should work for you, right? And so
Of
if you are
course.
at a brokerage where you're being supported and where your needs are met, and then great, stay where you're at. But
Right.
I moved over to Real because my brokerage was really small and they served a purpose for me at the time because when I first started out, I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So my brokerage at the time, I needed someone who I could like text right away, and they helped me with that. But then when I was ready to grow, my brokerage was too small to really support that, um, and so I moved to a brokerage where I was like, "There's some opportunity for me here." So if your brokerage is filling your needs, stay there.
Right.
We love you, Kaitlin. You're awesome.
Caitlin, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation and the show.
Yes.
And it's really special, too, because this is where we're ending our first season of Selling Saratoga. So the grand finale.
Yes.
We appreciate you being here so much. If you have any questions for Kaitlin, reach out to her on what's the best way to get in touch with you? Social media?
Yeah, Instagram.
At Realtor Kaitlin with a K?
Yep.
So reach out to her there. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning
Thank
in.
you, Kaitlin.
Thank you, Kaitlin.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Kaitlin. You're awesome.
If you haven't listened to the rest of our season of Selling Saratoga, now's the time to catch up, tune in, and we hope to see you soon. All right.
Okay.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Mwah. Bye.